Good morning, everyone, once again. First of all, I would like to welcome every one of you to our fifth event today under the Napino Knowledge Series. It's a Saturday morning. The weather is getting warmer, and I think we are also ensuring that every topic that we bring is equally exciting and very relevant to what is happening in India today. Myself, Vinay Solanki, I'm working at Napino Auto Electronics and Limited, where I take care of the IoT and digital solutions business. I think many of you would probably be talking to me or interacting with me. I love to talk about IoT. If some of you are not connected with me, I always welcome you to connect with me on LinkedIn. We'll share the details later on. Moving on, we want to talk about what we are going to do today very quickly, and with that, some small administrative stuff for all of you. On your window, there are two things that you will see. One is the broadcast of the session, along with the presentations that some of the speakers would be sharing. Then there should be an option at the bottom for asking questions. Okay. So anytime during the event today, as we start, you can ask your Q&A. During the panel discussion, I will be moderating the questions and then asking those questions to our esteemed speakers and panelists for today. Okay. Meanwhile, if you have any feedback, you can also put the feedback on the same option. Our green room team in the background and our support team will be taking a look at that if there is any major issue that you're facing. Okay. So with that, today's topic is very interesting. I think if you are working in digital transformation domain, either directly or indirectly, and if you have seen what has happened after COVID, the speed of digital transformation has increased by almost 3 times, I think. Major research house like McKinsey, IDC, and the likes, they all forecast that what has COVID done and what has this pandemic actually done. They have forced many industries which were not thinking to adopt technology like IoT, AI, augmented reality, blockchain, RPA, and so on, for at least few years now, have now actually gone and started thinking, or in fact investing and adopting it very actively and rapidly. IoT was already, I think, picking up pace even before the pandemic, but some way, thanks to pandemic, for people like us, it has given us now an opportunity where we can build and deploy solutions for supporting different use cases. A simple example could be manufacturing industry which basically used to work in an environment which was people see each other every day. They come to the shop floor and produce what they need to produce, right? A furnace area or an electronic manufacturing industry or even a mobile phone manufacturing. But after pandemic, I think they thought that can we do work from home? Can our staff and can some of our employee work from home and still be productive or at least support our customer? When in May, I think the industry started opening up worldwide, including India. A lot of facilities in area like Noida, Manesar, they started opening up, and I think management had to take a decision that I cannot have everyone in the shop floor coming to office every day. I cannot crowd my area, and that's where they said, why don't we do work from home? I think many leaders have not realized it is very effective. Think about attendance tracking in the same manufacturing setup. People do fingerprinting and they have to scan their fingerprint every day to check in and check out because timesheet is very important in a manufacturing setup. People work in shifts, right? Now they have started adopting solutions like Bluetooth low energy. So people can actually check in and check out by using a mobile phone. I think most of us now have smartphone. Even the simplest and the most cheapest smartphone also have a BLE, Bluetooth support in it. So now people are saying that why can't I do touchless attendance? And the likes. Think of other use cases which are not directly or indirectly related, but wearable has really picked up pace because in pandemic, people are working from home. They need wearables like what I'm wearing here in my head. They need Bluetooth headsets. They need neck bands. People are now home. That means they need more exercise. So wearable has started picking up pace. Computing devices that help you to work remotely or from anywhere or from a coffee shop has picked up pace. So overall, I think this is the good news for any one of us dealing in the industry as a service provider or a solution provider. So with that, I think I would like to start the event today by inviting a very well-known and an esteemed, uh, I think, known name in the industry, especially in the automotive industry, as our keynote speaker today. So I will quickly introduce our first speaker for today. Meanwhile, I will request my team to start the video from the back end. So our first speaker is Mr. Naveen Kumar Singh. Naveen Kumar is a seasoned leader with around 3 decades of experience in the automotive industry. That's a lot, right? 30 years is where people would probably understand this in and out. He has led several global alliances and deals from ideation to execution. His expertise has helped build scale, boost asset efficiency, and also expand into various markets. Currently, Naveen is the CEO of Napino Group. He is the driving force behind the flagship electronic manufacturing business and also the new business bets that the company is taking in the area of IoT, digital solutions, electric vehicles, and the likes. In the past, he has nurtured various other companies and well-known players in this same industry, such as Hubros, Varroc, Foratia Exhaust Systems, and Indian Seamless Metal Tubes Limited through various management roles. He also believes that customer expectations on quality, reliability, and safety are at an all-time high today, and they can be addressed through a very collaborative research and development approach. Naveen is an alumnus of Manipal University and holds a management degree from IIM Calcutta. Some of the area of expertise is management of technology business, automotive and electronics manufacturing, business sustainability and market expansions, automation and operational excellence, customer centricity, and talent spotting and grooming. So with that, I would request you, sir, to take us through what is important for all of us to really survive in today's market. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Vinay, and good morning, all of you. So very happy to be here with this gathering, and I would just like to take you through the challenges and what manufacturing can do in the current industry, in the current scenario, as it was explained by Vinay, that there was a totally paradigm shift, after this when we had this after the pandemic, and being into manufacturing and into a manufacturing setup, for me, when work from home was something which we never thought of, and now I think many of my team members are working from home and delivering maybe slightly better result than what it used to be earlier. So what I will do to start my presentation, I will just take you through some slides, that to give you an idea of what Napino is and what we are doing. So, I mean, Vinay, we can start, right? So
Yes,
can you
sir.
start with the slide introduction, Vinay, then I can take it over?
Yeah. So, do you see my screen about Napino slide
Yes,
on
yes,
your
yes,
window?
yes.
Okay, sir. So I think, sir, you want me to cover the Napino
Yeah, yeah,
slides?
just the initial slides, couple of slides, and
Sure,
I'll take
sure.
it.
Sure. So I think just to briefly talk about Napino as a group, right? Napino is one of the India's leading electronics product design and manufacturing house, one of the very well known in the automotive industry. Napino is in existence for last 23 plus years in automotive and also more than 4 years now in other domains like IoT and e-mobility and so on. As you see, like on the right hand side, we have around 7 facilities in the country, spread over almost the entire country, with new ones coming up in the southern region, hopefully soon. We also have two R&D centers. One is in Gurgaon and one is in Pune, which basically focuses on research and development area for new and innovative lines and products. We basically produce 20 plus million components annually, and it is growing as we speak across 12 SMT and 14 assembly lines. And because of which, and because of our experience, we are also a reliable supply chain partner to multiple global clients and tier one global companies. In automotive segment, I think if you look at two-wheeler, we service almost everyone from the last Hero to other emerging EV startups as well in the two-wheeler segment. And we also support indirectly as a tier two supplier to four-wheeler industry as well. So approximately 150 R&D engineers work in Napino, and this team is growing, which works on different R&D area such as automotive, but additionally also IoT devices like camera or trackers and so on. And more importantly, I think as we heard about the background about our speaker, partnership is a very important focus of Napino. Globally, I think we have partnered with very standard industry players like Shindingen in Japan or Continental, Fallbrook, and Domino. So moving on, yeah, sir, do you want to me to
Yeah,
continue
so
here?
yeah, thank you. So this is a brief milestone, So Napino started in the year 1997. So I mean, when we started until now, our major focus has been electronics for the automotive application, and we are by large the largest electronic manufacturing company in the country as of today. And this is our journey. So we started in 1997, and then we did couple of partnership in. So this company itself is a joint venture company. When it started in 2001, it was a joint venture with a company called Shindingen, which is a very prominent player, Japanese player in the automotive field. And then we did some partnership with in 2017 with giants like Continental. So Continental is one of the world's largest component supplier for the automotive, and they are around plus $50 billion turnovers, and so we have them as a partner. And the idea of bringing a partnership with this company, that we want to bring in the best practices, which is followed globally for the parts being manufactured in India. So that's the philosophy with which we are working, and we are also able to add a lot of new technologies and new products with their support. Yeah. Next. So yeah, these are the again details about the partnership. So we are partnering with people with companies in Japan to Continental, which is a German company, and also we have taken license from a US company called Fallbrook. So the one of the basic driving factor behind Navino is that we want to keep on bringing in new technologies, which is already available, or some of them are not available in the world. So that's a technology we want to bring for the Indian customers, and that is the reason that we have invested heavily on R&D, and our manufacturing per se is best in India, and also it is at a very global standard. Next. So our value proposition is that we are very proud to be a world class, best in class manufacturing. So we really keep a lot of focus on manufacturing, because if we feel that the products are very quality and as per processes, then the product will be quite reliable, and then the customer will not have to use those products. So also our very strong in sourcing. So we have a very well defined sourcing for any manufacturing. The major support has to come from a very sourcing. And we also operate very positive as well as my customer. The key thing, and again, the most important thing is that we follow a strong practice and believe in transparency, because that is the way we feel that we can be a reliable partner both for our suppliers as well as our partner and as well as our customer. So yeah, we have a very wide range of so we have all the Indian and global OEMs with whom we are directly doing business. And on the right hand side, you can see we are doing some business as a tier two. And Napino as a manufacturing, we are approved by almost all the major global OEMs that we are approved as a supplier to them. Now in the IoT, so IoT we just started, I think, about a few years back, 2 3 years back. So we were not into IoT earlier. So we have entered into 2 3 years back, and in this 2 3 years we were able to get a lot of entry into some of the major customers, like you can see on the left hand side of my screen, and also as a tier two on the right hand side of the screen. So we are basically focusing on a lot of IoT products in terms of like cameras or tracking devices and products like that. So yeah, one thing which is very important for any product to be successful in the market is how you manufacture it, and that is where Napino comes into picture. Because we have a very strong manufacturing base, and we also saw that in the Indian ecosystem for the IoT, we saw some very intelligent or very innovative product designer But we saw that for all the product, most of the people have to depend maybe outside India for the manufacturing support, because we don't have that level of manufacturing in India, or we are not very agile to the the ecosystem of developing a new product for IoT. So this is what we bring on the table, like we bring the world-class manufacturing wherein we can support many of the companies in India who has a very innovative idea, innovative product, but they are not able to get it manufactured in India. So now we are right here in India. I mean, we'll be able to cater to all your needs right from the initial prototyping to mass production. And since we are basically an automotive company, the quality is in our blood. So whatever product we make will be a very high level product, and the reliability will be unmatched. So you can see a glimpse of our manufacturing facility. Go to the last slide. Yeah, so you can see all the equipments and the manufacturing system. What we have is you can compare to the best in the world, not only in India but also you go to any company in the world. I mean, we'll be at par or slightly better than them. Next. So apart from that, we also offer, like, when we do the product, when we design the product, we do the manufacturing, and then we have to also do the complete testing validation. So we thought that testing validation is basically a very key part in the ecosystem or the supply chain system of any product. So we have invested heavily on world class testing validation of the product what we design, or can be given as a service to anybody else who wants to design and see their products are reliable or not. So we have a world class testing and validation lab, heavily invested in this, and we also have our own EMI EMC, which is a very rare thing to see any company in India having their own EMI EMC facility. So everything is there in Napino, wherein we can really churn out the product very fast. So I mean, normally what happens, people go to an outside agency for testing and validation. So it comes with the cost as well as time. So I think that's the problem we were able to solve by investing heavily on the world class testing and validation lab here at Napino. So yeah, some other environmental chamber, like, I mean, all the product has to go through a rigorous, a rigorous environmental condition, like, the vibration and high temperature, high humidity, and we have to see that in this type of condition also, the product what we have developed or the product what we have designed and the one which we have manufactured is able to pass through all the extreme, environmental condition which may happen in the field. Yeah. So to support manufacturing, we are not we also have a very R&D facility in Napino. So we have more than 150 engineers working in R&D, and the focus area what we have defined for our R&D is digital transformation, EV, which is the next big thing which is going to happen in the mobility field. And here, let me tell you, when we talk about the e-vehicle, that's going to be a complete paradigm shift, and everybody, any innovative company, small or big, will be having a level play in this field. The people, it's not that you have to be a very multi-billion dollar company to become a component supplier for EV. So today, we are at an inflection point where the situation is that we are at a very I mean, in a equal level, that we can. I mean, companies can come out with an innovative idea, and then companies like Napino is there to support in terms of testing, validation, and also the most important thing, what the value addition, what Napino does, is design for manufacturing. So, I mean, a product can be designed, it can work, but it is of no use if we are not able to mass produce it at a very optimal cost. So that is where again, Napino is having a very strong. Strong knowledge in this, where we can do the process FMEA, we can do the design FMEA, and see that the products are made. The first product what we make should be okay, and it should be acceptable to the customer. So as I was saying that we are focusing on digital transformation. I mean, electrical vehicle telematics. So we already have our own vehicle telematics with the cloud connectivity and all. Asset tracking is again an area where we are focusing a lot, and then cameras. So you can, I mean, if you happen to get a chance to come to Napino, you can see all these things getting designed, developed, manufactured, and tested, live at Napino. Next. So I mean, to design and to develop the product, we use all the best in world software and the simulation tool, which is very important to, I mean, reduce the cycle time for development. So we use all those things, all those software and the simulation tools. Next. And of course, by doing all this good thing, we also get recognition and reward from our customers. So we have been recipient of a few of the most prestigious award from an industrial body as well as from the customer. Yeah, so as I told you about the quality system, so all our plants and all our business units are ISO 9001 IAFT qualified. So that gives a lot of confidence in terms of to the customer as well as for our suppliers. I think that's all from our side, and I will be very happy to answer if you have any question in terms of what you feel about manufacturing and what Napino brings on the table, for the IoT industry as a manufacturing partner. Basically, we would like to be one of the largest, ODM suppliers or ODM designers in India, and would like companies in India to come to Napino and get their parts developed and manufactured rather than going looking at somewhere else. And also because we handle a very large scale of manufacturing, our costs are also very optimized. And of course, the most important thing of the product is good quality and a reliable product. That is where Napino has can add a lot of value to the IoT ecosystem in India. So that's all from my side, and thank you, Vinay. If there's any questions, I would love to answer that.
Sure, sir. First of all, thank you very much for taking us through what is Napino really doing. And I think there is a strong message that you want to make India an Atmanirbhar Bharat. I think, and align with that Make in India, Made in India, Innovation in India theme. So with that, I have two questions I would like to ask you. I think the first question is more relevant to our theme today, because Napino is one of the largest ESDM house in India. So where do you see the biggest gap for India lies today to become a electronic manufacturing leader in the industry? And how is Napino contributing to fill that gap, or government or any other industry partners that you work with?
So basically, on the gap, I can't say there's certain gaps are there, but what we bring you on the table, we have understood the gap which is available in the market, and that is one of the biggest gap. What we saw as an industry is that if a company is very good in a mass production, they are not able to cater to a very small volume or the prototyping and all. So we thought that we should be a single point solution to the customers in India, where we can do right from the prototyping. If they need one or two components for testing the market and all, and we can take it to the level of mass producing to millions in a year. So that is what we are trying to support, and this gap we are trying to cover by setting a different type of manufacturing practices at Napino. And one of the major challenge also is the supply chain, where I think Napino has been able to do a lot of strategic sourcing partnership with the global component supplier, because that is one of the major challenges what the electronic company is facing today in terms of serving the customer for a high-end digital products.
Okay, now I think that's a very critical point, because you're talking about component industry. Right now, we still largely depend on importing that into
Yeah,
India,
yeah,
modules and components,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, okay.
And also, that the reliability of the product which comes has to be very robust. The manufacturing practices and the quality system have to be very robust. Because if we don't do that, then the sustenance in the market is not there. You may make a few thousand of equipment and parts, but then if it starts failing in the market, then it's a opportunity loss for the company as well as for the country. So we have to be very, very careful that, first time okay product should be coming out of the factory.
Okay, no, that's a brilliant point, sir. I think we are getting some questions. I will cover that for you from during our panel discussion, sir. There is one more question I would like to cover. We will do that in the panel discussion. But someone is asking that as Napino, what are the different products you build in the IoT ecosystem or IoT customers?
So as I told you, it was there in the slide. I think you can cover it better. I think we are into tracking device. We are into cameras. We are into
Yeah.
BLE tags. So it's an array of things we already are there today, and we are now trying to develop every month or every 2 months we are developing a new product. Like we are also getting, just you said about the wearable. So wearable itself is a big market in India, and right now we want that the wearable should become a product which can be made in India, because the consumption of those products in India is going exponentially high day by day. and then that will give a complete good opportunity for a lot of people, in India, in terms of if they want to come with a very innovative wearable products for the Indian market as well as for the global market. So the idea of Napino is to give you a global standard. So at any point you will not feel that you are slightly even an inch lesser than one of the best companies in the world. So we can give those type of requirement can be fulfilled by Napino, and that too at a very reasonable cost.
Thank you. Thank you. I think Mr. Neerav Dave, a part of your question is answered by our keynote speaker, but we will also reach out to you over email and share more details.
I would just like to add over here that we are not
Yes,
only a
sir.
manufacturing company. See, we also come with a very strong design background, which is a unique combination, I can say. With a design background and doing the manufacturing, that gives a very unique combination, and a lot of value is coming from this type of dual initiative. Like we can do the design development, we can do the manufacturing, and we can also do the testing and validation.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So basically, you are a full stack ODM player that someone can come with an ideation or even a concept in mind and then deliver like directly to the customer like a finished good with all that being covered. Great. Thank you very much. I think with that, I would like to thank you, and I would like to introduce our next speaker for the day. So I think just a reminder to the audience once again, feel free to ask your question on the Q&A window. Some of them we'll try to cover as we go forward, and some will be covered after the panel discussion. So with that, I would like to say that we have two speakers who will be talking about what they do and how do they align with the design and the manufacturing aspects of the IoT market or connected device or digital markets. And also, I would like to iterate the point that the total experience between the three speakers that we have today, Mr. Naveen Kumar, Ms. Sujata, and Mr. Nate, and myself as a moderator, is close to 120 years. So that's a lot of experience people are bringing here on the table. So please feel free to ask questions. You don't get such an opportunity frequently. With that, I would like to invite our next speaker, Ms. Sujata Tilak, founder and managing director at Ascent Intelligenti and director of ISA Smart Manufacturing and Industrial IoT Division. Sujata is a thought leader, and I know Sujata very well for, I don't know, I think almost more than 4 or 5 years now, as part of some common platform that we are. She's a thought leader in industrial IoT and convergence of IT and OT, and instrumentation and control engineer from College of Engineering in Pune. She has more than 30 years of experience. Sujata has worked with Alpha Level and KPIT before founding Ascent Intelligenti. She has ably led the company to a niche position as a supplier of software solutions in the industrial automation and IIoT space. She has wide-ranging experience in the area like environmental monitoring, smart manufacturing, digital transformation, etc. And under her leadership, her company has conceptualized and developed an innovative IoT platform called as Plant Connect, and various other products based on this platform. She's an evangelist of her chosen field. Focus is to help organizations recognize and embrace diverse ways in which manufacturing data can be beneficially used by various stakeholders. So that is a key part, I think, very important area, because data is the gold today, is the oil, the new oil. And Sujata is also recognized as an expert in IoT field already, and invited to various conferences as speaker and thought leader. She also contributes in various technical magazines. She works actively in organizations like International Society of Automation, which is ISA, TIE, TIE chapters, and CII, Confederation of Indian Industry, which is a very well-known industry body. She's the founder and first director of ISA Smart Manufacturing and IoT Division, a DVP of ISA Asia Pacific District, a charter member of TIE, and actively participates in various TIE initiatives, like also including mentoring startups. I think she can be a very good mentor if you are one of the startup here on the call and looking for an excellent mentor with a lot of expertise in her bucket. So with that and further delay, I would request Ms. Sujata to take us through her content today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Vinay. Thanks for your kind words and the introduction. So good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be part of this event, and thanks Vinay and Napino for inviting me. Today I'm going to speak on servitization in manufacturing, and you guys must be wondering what that has to do with the theme of today's session. But I'll come to that in a minute, and I'll explain why this is important. Okay. Yeah. By the way, can you see my screen and hear me? Okay.
Um, yes, I can see your screen and your video, both fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay. Yeah. So before I get into the topic, let me just introduce my company, Ascent Intelligenti. We are an industrial IoT solution provider company. So our aim or goal is to enable Industry 4.0 initiatives by providing solutions based on our H2 Cloud platform called Plant Connect. We are a Cisco ISV for Industry 4.0 solutions in India. And we have right now 4 or 5 products which are sold in the market. Some of our customers are listed here. I'll talk a little bit about our products so that you get an idea as to in which space we are working. So the first product which we released in the market about 6 years ago, it's called Enviro Connect, and this is in the space of environment data management. So monitoring of industrial stack emissions, ambient air quality, ETP, STP output, and so on. And these are basically regulatory driven application, and CPCB, the Central Pollution Control Board, as well as state pollution control boards, mandate some 17 types of industries to provide online data to their servers. And I'm proud to be part of this. And you would be happy to note that India is way ahead in this space, even more than developed markets like USA. Europe is still better, but USA does not have uniformly online reporting of pollution data. And India does have that since last 6 years or even little more than that. And that has helped reduce industrial pollution quite a bit in India. We are still struggling with pollution and mainly vehicular and other sources, but stationary industrial pollution sources are quite a bit under control, and I would give all the credit to Central Pollution Control Board for driving this, and I'm happy to be part of this movement in India. It's not very much well known to people, but I would like to take this opportunity to talk about that. Then the second product we have is called Plant Connect Insights. This is a historian and reporting framework for process plants. We have done a lot of projects in various dairies, chemical plants, other food and beverages plants, and so on. Then the third solution is called Plant Connect RAMS. This is a remote asset monitoring solution for OEMs. And the topic for today's session is somewhat related to this solution. And the last one is called Plant Connect S Factory. This is a smart factory or industry 4.0 solution for manufacturing companies. And this one we released about 3 years ago. And S Factory basically provides real-time data and analytics for all aspects of production and maintenance. And we are doing some very interesting projects in this area. And it's a ongoing development, lot of things to do, lot of work is happening, and it's a very good area to be in. And we have our own edge gateway called DATCON. So this is used in all our products, as well as we offer this as a for integration with third-party solutions. Now, Vinay mentioned about ISA, and let me talk a little bit about ISA and my work with ISA. So ISA is International Society of Automation. It's headquartered in North Carolina, USA. It's a Apex International Association of Industrial Automation Professionals with around 15,000 members and 350,000 customers all around the world. ISA's vision is to create a better world through automation. And it is basically a standards organization. So ISA creates standards in industrial automation. More than 150 standards are there, and mainly process industries like oil and gas and chemical and pharma use ISA standards worldwide. Some of you might be familiar with ISA IEC 62443, which is the cybersecurity standard, and that standard has gained a lot of traction and a lot of recognition recently because of the wave of Industry 4.0 and IIoT. But in addition to that, ISA also has many other standards, and they are used very widely across the world. ISA also provides trainings and certifications, lot of publications, events and conferences. And I am leading, so in India, we have about 1,500 members of ISA, and we have 8 sections in cities like Pune, Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, Calcutta, Chennai, and Hyderabad, and Vadodara. We also have sections in Singapore, Malaysia, and Japan. And right now, I'm heading all these sections. It is comes under District 14, and I'm the DVP for this entire Asia and Southeast Asia area. I'm also leading a division, technical division within ISA. It is focused on smart manufacturing and IIoT. So I'm the current director of this division. And if any of you are interested to know more and want to join ISA, please visit www.isa.org. Okay. Now coming to today's topic, servitization in manufacturing. And you must be wondering, why am I speaking of this topic? So if we look at the IoT market in India as well as worldwide, manufacturing has still the biggest contributor in this market. So NASSCOM released a report recently, and it talks about 15 billion as the IoT market in 2021. And even if you leave out the numbers, in this like the total market size, manufacturing still occupies more than 70% of the size. Consumer and healthcare are 2 other sectors, and within consumer, you also have the smart cities as part of that. But manufacturing is the biggest pie. And when we talk about IoT in manufacturing, there are various aspects. Again, it's a large area, and there are various aspects. And one of the aspects which I'm going to talk about is servitization in manufacturing. And this aspect is emerging. This is as of now underserved, and hence a huge opportunity for anybody who is doing IoT devices and who is wanting to serve this market. So let's see what is servitization in manufacturing. So there is a demand side to it and a supply side to it. So on the demand side, the consumers of manufactured goods, and typically here we are talking about high-end complex equipment. So we are talking about high-end like the CNC machines, or we are talking about boilers, we are talking about turbines, engines, and so on. Automotive engines, even aircraft engines, and so on. So in this area, consumers of this or the users of this equipment would like to reduce upfront capital investment, because these are very capital intensive equipment. Also, they just don't want to buy an equipment, but they want to also have excellent support and service from the supplier, and want assurance of the outcome. Whatever has been, stated outcomes as well as stated performance of the equipment, they want to ensure that they actually get it. So this is the demand side. And so to meet this demand, the suppliers have to use a model called as servitization. Now, in this model, manufacturers not just offer a product to their customers, but they offer a portfolio of integrated products, services, and outcomes. So this is a win-win for both supplier and consumer or the end user. Because for manufacturers, they can build new revenue streams from the services related to their product. So they do not just remain product suppliers, but they go up the value chain and they become, more than a product supplier. So relationship between the supplier and the customer changes to a partnership relationship. They are committed to the outcome. So the supplier also becomes committed to the outcome, and hence they are more in touch with their customer. They are not only supplying the product, but also ensuring that the product works in the field as expected, and they are providing services to be able to do that. So this is a win-win. But what it needs a lot of work discipline. It needs a lot of documented, comprehensive SOPs on both sides to follow. It needs a good mechanism for measuring the outcomes, and that is where IoT comes in. And of course, on the contract side, on the legal side, it needs detailed contract. But let's concentrate on the measurement of outcome as to, and also how a supplier will provide this service or provide these services to their customers. So IoT comes in play in both these areas. So just I will give a brief about how do you servitize or what are the levels of servitization. So the basic level has been in practice for a long time. It's called MRO, so maintenance, repair, overhaul. So when you supply equipment, you typically can take the maintenance contract, or you repair it on demand, you overhaul it, retrofit it, or you provide such kind of services. So this has been happening in manufacturing of in high-end equipments or in capital equipments for longest time. Now we go to the next level of servitization. It's a intermediate level where you provide the same services, but you don't provide them reactively. You provide them proactively. That means you provide the maintenance as well as repair before your customer realizes that it is required, or before your customer's equipment breaks down and has some problems. So you provide them proactively. And as you can imagine, for this, remote monitoring of these equipment as well as having a remote diagnostic capabilities is very much essential. Otherwise, you won't be able to provide the services. And that is where again IoT comes in. But then there are many more advanced levels of servitization. Product as a service. Now this product as a service is gaining ground quite a bit. Not so much in manufacturing, that is just starting, but in other areas, like typically in IT, we use it always. Like cloud is a product as a service, right? We don't go and buy the server. We just buy the bandwidth, or we just buy the storage. And that is now like a very well followed practice. So, but in the manufacturing also, product as a service is something which is coming up. There are like manufacturers of, one example is buses. These buses are not sold to the end customer, but they are given product as a service. So you don't buy the bus, but you buy certain mileage from that bus, or you buy certain trips from that bus. And the supplier is responsible not just for selling you the bus, but also upkeep, maintenance, making sure that it is performing as expected and it is all the time available whenever the end user wants. So another is doing availability and or quality SLAs. So you are not just selling a product, but you are taking contractual responsibility for availability of that asset, as well as the quality of the output. So this is the second flavor of advanced level of servitization. Third is the outcome-based model, where customer will pay for the outcome rather than the asset. So this is a combination of product as a service and quality SLAs. So here the customer is not at all paying upfront for anything in the product. He is simply going to pay for the outcome that he is expecting to get from the product. And the last one is providing advisory services. So you don't just provide the product, but you provide advisory services on that asset. So for example, if you are a company selling boilers, then you don't just install the boiler, but you continuously provide services to optimize the performance of that boiler, to advise the customer on usage of fuel mix, other components in that, and so on, to ensure that the boiler is all the time performing at a highest efficiency that is possible in given circumstances. So these are some of the ways in which servitization can be realized. And in India, if you talk about the manufacturing sector and the way they are selling their products, this is not yet very common, but it is coming very soon and very quickly. A lot of customers are expecting to get not just product but the services around it. And if you think about it, there are many examples around us. Some examples are from long time ago, like if you talk about the photocopy machines, if you buy it from Xerox, then Xerox to claim on number of copies you. So this kind of a product as a service. Guarantee don't guarantee there are no no based SLAs, but the payment is a product as a service model. Coffee machines. These are some of the office equipment, but even in the industrial, some manufacturers are providing model where you pay for outcome. That means the amount of so the underserved market, even from customer, even from the manufacturer's perspective, and also the services which are required to make this a reality. So let's see that. So what makes it possible? IIoT makes it possible because without that, such models are unthinkable. What do you need for making it possible? You need sensors, which where you measure the performance of that equipment, where you measure the health of that equipment. Then you need IoT systems. These are eyes and ears of this model, because without that, the supplier is not able to keep track of the asset and is not able to, fulfill whatever are the contractual obligations that they have taken. And last but not the least, you need a brain behind it. So once you have all the data and once you have all the measurements, you need analytics, you need advanced analytics, maybe machine learning to improve the product continuously in order to get more and more outputs out of it and give better and better service to the customer. So IoT is the single need which is going to make this possible. And hence, this is a big opportunity for all the IoT companies, be you are manufacturing devices or you are manufacturing platforms or giving end-to-end solutions. This is an underserved market. So I showed you that we have this RAMS solution. I would like to disclose here that out of all our solutions, RAMS is the most or is the least successful solution as of now, because Indian manufacturers are still not ready for this. But then with the global competition, if we have to get things away from China and become India becomes a manufacturing powerhouse, and not just for Indian market but for the world, this approach is inevitable. Without this approach, you cannot sell a machine, for example, somewhere in, let's say, Russia, and service it from India without making losses. I mean, you can't send people. You cannot have on-site people. You have to have technology. You have to use IoT in order to even simply service and maintain that asset. Forget about the other stuff, but even for simple maintenance and support, you need to have IoT-based solutions. But if you want to go up the value chain and get premium for your products, then you have to go to servitization. So this is a big opportunity for IoT products and services companies.
Okay.
Yeah. I would like to stop the presentation here, and if I think questions we will be taking at the end, right, Vinay?
Yeah. We will be taking the questions at the end. Thank you, Sujata. I think you can thank Sujata. I will invite our next speaker before we move into the panel discussions and go over the questions. So our next of the day is Srinath. He has 25 years of technology experience in high performance computing and embedded systems. With his passions to bring about revolutionizing changes in the embedded and semiconductor industry, Nate has become synonymous with many glorious inventions in the past 2 decades. He holds an MS degree in electrical and computer engineering from the Clemson University in USA and a Bachelor of Engineering degree in the domain of electronics and communication. He started his career in '96 at Free Semiconductor as a engineer. for the research and development of high performance Microsoft for Apple. That's amazing. In his professional career spanning more than 25 years, he has held key positions such as systems architect, design engineer, and technology consultant in some of the leading technology-centric companies across the globe. Nate founded electronics brand Inixi in 2010, focusing on embedded systems design, development, and manufacturing of products for various verticals such as industrial automation, defense and medical, and consumer electronics. He has created and taken many products to the market and partnerships with brands such as Binary Semantic Limited and Micromax Informatics. Inixi was awarded the second best R&D company by Ministry of Electronics and IT in 2017, and more recently selected by Airports Authority of India for developing airport automation technology as well. They have customers such as Reliance Group, Hero Group, and Toyota. And Nate is an extensively focused on developing cutting-edge IoT products and services to target the growing IoT marketplace. So with that, I think I would also like to share that I also know Nate for almost 5 years. I think since I was with Bharti Airtel. Like Ms. Sujata or our keynote speaker, Mr. Naveen Kumar, I think Nate also brings close to 3 decade experience, almost 5 years away from that. As I said, right, three of them touch around 90 years of experience, which is very rare to have such a panel with so much of background and expertise. And I think with that, I will request Nate to take us through his presentation, and then we can move to the panel discussion after that. Thank you, Nate.
Sure, Vinay. Thank you so much for the opportunity you've given me to address this wonderful audience, and also special greetings to your CEO, Mr. Naveen, and also to our esteemed panelists along with me. Thank you so much. Today, as Vinay has been mentioning, the topic of discussion is going to be around design and manufacture for IoT. So he has spoken a lot about me, has introduced me a lot. So thank you so much, Vinay, for that introduction. So I'm going to move into the topic of discussion. So I want to share with you this foil here, which basically shows how IoT design services landscape is set up. Because we have been in the design and manufacturing landscape for quite a long time. IoT is definitely one of our core focus areas, and it has been for the last 7 or 8 years. We have nicely organized the design services across various verticals. As you can see, the healthcare is a very, very big vertical. There's a huge number of applications in that particular vertical. Inixi has completed many projects in that vertical. So all the audience here, I think healthcare is going to be very big for IoT, especially for devices for the elderly care. BLE tags have already been mentioned by Mr. Naveen for social segregation and stuff like that. But BLE itself is an amazing technology, and I request all the audience to contemplate how to use the technology for so many devices. You know, the opportunities are endless. Like even if we have 3 companies talking about similar technologies, similar products, the opportunities are so huge for each one of you to innovate. For example, you can have a BLE-based wheelchair tracking system for a hospital. You could have a BLE-based system for the assets of a hospital. So healthcare is going to be huge, and there's so many opportunities for all the startups and all the companies which are already in the IoT space. And remote patient monitoring is gaining a lot of traction now, especially with COVID and even the elderly not getting proper care. So now we see a huge growth in digital e-consultation and remote patient monitoring. So all of that is accomplished through IoT. Logistics has always been the forerunner for IoT. In the olden days, in between 2010 to 2012, nobody knew what IoT was. You know, IoT is really a buzzword which has come into play in this decade. But after the mobile revolution, it was all about M2M. You know, if people remember machine-to-machine communication, that's the birth of logistics and automation in logistics, where a lot of vehicle tracking devices were created with these GPRS modems and GPS chipsets. So, big experience just like Napino. I know we company to design indigenous GPS tracker. We have a lot of customers who use it. So that is a huge business opportunity, even for new entrants, because China is actually shutting down. What I hear from the rest of the world is actually, especially for India at least, is the Chinese tracking devices. They are not supplying as much as they used to do. So, which means that as we migrate from current tracking technologies to newer tracking technologies, upgrading the networks from 2G to NB-IoT and 4G, huge opportunity for lot of tracking devices manufacturers, people who are running the fleet management software, special use cases like coal truck management, or ensuring the cargo, driver behavior, driver route analysis. So it's just incredible. And of course, asset tracking being one of the big areas, like already Naveen sir mentioned, I think it's projected to be a $5 to $10 billion vertical in itself, just asset tracking. So huge opportunity for a lot of companies there. Coming to industrial automation is again, in fact, last 3 days I've been visiting about 9 Toyota factories. It's just incredible the amount of automation which is possible, and one company cannot do it. That is why I've been repeatedly telling all our partners in the ecosystem that when we used to do electronics in the past, it used to be one company or one brand, and then came the mobile revolution. Even in those days, it was just one company or one brand who was the leader. But in IoT, there is no one company which is going to take it all. It is going to be an ecosystem of platform, ecosystem of network providers, ecosystem of network technologies, and device manufacturers. When all of them come together to deliver a reliable, robust service to the end customer, the ecosystem is going to win, and they are going to be the leaders of the IoT industry. It's not going to be one brand or one company. And of course, automotive is a big segment. Automotive has always been in the forefront of electronics technology, especially with the reliability they bring in. At the same time, now with connected vehicle and autonomous vehicle, and more interest towards autonomous vehicles, I think that's going to be a huge opportunity for so many sensors and sensor-based devices to be loaded in an automobile. And with electric vehicle also getting more and more traction, I think the next 5 to 10 years in the automotive industry is going to be absolutely fantastic. Maybe a lot of big brand names are going to get toppled with the efficiencies which e-vehicles can bring to play, along with all the technology which is out there for us. M2M, yes, it is still there in the form of metering and monitoring and various types of point of sale machines. That's still there. We call it that segment will always be there, because that automation brings an amount of benefit both to the operator as well as the users. And of course, smart homes, smart industry, smart buildings, smart city. These are all another area where a huge amount of IoT have been deployed and is continuing to be deployed for various types of automation. So those are all the verticals at least Inixi is working on, and there's 2 or 3 more verticals you can add. It's just up to you to imagine which industries you want to get into, but opportunities are endless in each of these verticals. So on the bottom row, I'm just showing you how we have segregated various design services. One is the device design itself, and then the gateway design and the network, the cloud services design, and of course any kind of special platform-based design services in terms of analytics and whatnot, and development of applications. So this particular presentation, I'm going to be focusing more on the blue bar, which is pretty much talks about the IoT device design and development, because we are talking about design and manufacturing for IoT products. So we're not going to touch too much into the gateway, although gateway hardware also very big area. A huge scope is there for companies, especially with 5G coming up. I think if you just think of creating a gateway with the right interfaces, tremendous opportunity lies in that particular vertical as well. So let's not rule gateways out. Gateways are the backbone of all the hardware devices. So I think gateway design also has a tremendous growth potential in the coming 3 to 5 years. So I'm going to be talking more about the device design itself. So the key points to be known, how to go forward in designing and manufacturing a device, is what I'll be talking about. So I'm going to move forward. what are the main ingredients for an IoT product? So if you really see, at the heart of every device is a microcontroller. We can call it a processor, but typically IoT devices, excuse me, are usually made of a microcontroller or some embedded controller which is already integrated onto a network element. Uh, so there will be a network element, there will be a small compute element. Very rarely you will find a memory element in IoT devices, but maybe a little amount of memory is present in IoT devices to store some logs, or if there's a network outage, then you don't want to lose data. So there is a small amount of memory. And of course, as all our previous speakers have mentioned, one of the biggest part of IoT is all about sensing and sensors. So most of these devices have some kind of a sensor. For example, a GPS tracking device has a GPS sensor. So if you have some other like a sound or a vibration monitoring device, it will have a vibration sensor. Or if you have a pressure monitoring device, it will have a pressure sensor. So just like the previous speakers had mentioned, every IoT device displays a sensor, the controller, which is a small footprint, low power, which can typically run on battery for a long period of time, and there's a network element associated with it. So this is the challenge of every IoT product designer, is he has to make a choice between the right sensing element, the right controller, the right network to use with the right kind of battery, and of course, area and cost are humongous because you're going to be deploying hundreds and thousands of these devices, and even 10 rupee difference can make a huge impact on the overall cost structure of the whole project. So I think that is the importance of how critical it is for considering all aspects. There is no room for any kind of margin which you used to have in the IT systems. See, whatever margin we used to have in typical IT systems was taken away when we came to the mobile world, but that particular margin is completely down to zero in the IoT world. So we need to build much more complicated, much more sophisticated devices than mobile devices to be highly competitive in the IoT space. So how do we proceed? I would say from my experience as a designer, think freely. You need to come up with some crude designs. You can look at competition, you can look at what is out there from other countries, you can look at other vendors and come up with your own concept. Don't be afraid to design, don't be afraid to draw on a piece of paper. Just put up a concept out. Okay, this is the device I want to create, and then you go ahead and refine the design a little bit further, give it some shape. If it is available, maybe you want to give it some shape, you want to give it some display, how the touch screen looks like, what the screen size, what are the things you want to show there, and what kind of features you want. And then you go into the implementation phase. You go ahead and actually prepare the hardware. Maybe you initially want to put together a POC where you buy some ready-made boards and put together the function and show the proof of concept of what you're trying to build. And once you do the proof of concept, then you move to the actual PCB design. You create the actual PCB, you create the actual hardware based on the form factor you're thinking about. You're creating the ID, the industrial design of the casing, thinking about how I'm going to manufacture the casing, which die maker, which tool maker, which fabricator is going to fabricate it for me. See, that's where India falls back far behind than China. While our PCB EMS manufacturing and PCB assembly has improved a lot over the years, one of the biggest areas which I find there's a huge opportunity is the casing design and manufacturing. Because we do not have a very organized system for the same. So once you finish the ID design, then you move into your firmware development, which is basically the software for your embedded device. You write it in whatever language which is supported by the underlying platform, and then you repeat the steps. You test the initial POC, then you take it to the next step. You fix all the bugs. You change the design a little bit. Your casing manufacturer tells you, you know what, your design is not good. You fix all the problems. You keep iterating it until your design becomes perfect. So once you create the first few prototypes which are working, then you start thinking about the market, how you're going to go to market with a go to market strategy, and what kind of volumes you're looking for. Whether you could, typically we say 1 to 50 units as a prototype production to test how your initial design is working. Then you do low volume, which is about 2,000 pieces or 5,000 pieces. You to ensure the product is okay. And I'm typically talking about a consumer product or an industrial product high volume. Otherwise, the typical volume for industrial product is about 5 units is a very good quantity for industrial product. But for a consumer product, the quantities I'm sure is very, very small. So low volume, we're talking 1 to 2,000 pieces. Then you want to go to medium volume, then you start thinking, what is the cost to my customer? How do I optimize it? How do I ensure my competition cannot match me on quality and price? And then you fix all whatever little things you can do in your molds, in your mechanicals, in your component sourcing, and then you move to high volume production where you can drive the part price down to the lowest level with consistent quality. So a little bit background about Inexi. Although we are a 10-year-old company, we created Inexi systems in 2014 by partnering with Binary Semantics Limited. We also partnered with Micromax and launched a bunch of consumer electronic devices for the IoT market. It was too early, 6 years ago, people didn't know about IoT. So we had that venture for a couple of years, and we're going to restart that again. And we're also, manufacturing industrial products and machines, and we won a few awards. But I think most importantly, as our speaker had introduced, like we have been selected by Airports Authority for automation. We are in multiple verticals in consumer, industrial automation, medical electronics, automotive, and defense. And of course, we are not as big as Napino. We are a small time OEM, ODM, who provide design services, manufacturing service, and have our own products and solutions. Some example products we have created for our customers. These are all real products developed in India for our customers, which are in the market. So you can see it's not that we do not create products in India. We do create products, just that we have not been able to scale it up like China and be able to give the benefit to our customers. These are some of the Inexi IoT products, some wearables, some GPS badges, building management systems. And of course, we have our own line of trackers for EV vehicles, asset trackers, and whatnot. So some of the awards we've won over the years, we have been happy to get these awards from both the government as well as the private bodies. And some of our esteemed customers here, we work with Toyota Group, Tata, Micromax, the Reliance Group, and Defense DRDO. And thank you so much. So that's a brief presentation. I hope I was able to communicate some of the concepts we have here at NXC for manufacturing, and I hope it was useful for you. And this time, I'm going to stop my presentation here and be open to take any questions you might have. Thank you so much.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Nate. I think this was fabulous. I hope in that chart on line 2020, the next 2021, there will be a line partnered with Napino to service world-class customers, right? And NXC.
Yeah.
So,
Look forward to
I
it.
think, yeah, thank you so much. About low volume, high volume, like prototype to mass volume, and what are the different driving factors, very critical for Indian markets. With that, I would request our green room to bring up our other two panelists on the and questions have been answered. So, for Mr. Naveen Kumar, I think there are two questions. You diversify into different areas, e-vehicle and other systems like batteries. Battery. So the question is that where do you see the maximum opportunity in the near future coming in the number one, and second, but I think I'm still trying to understand. For I also asked the question that how can India really compete on price?
Yeah, so to just answer your first question, this, I mean, where we would like to grow is basically our think of tackling on the EV because that is the future. And as I told you that EV is going to give a very, very the vehicle. Automotive will be multi-fold, when we go to electric vehicle. Majority of the IC engine has got a lot of mechanical part, lot of moving parts. Everything will be removed, and it will be mainly electronics. The electronics will be maybe four times or five times the current electronic which is going into the electric vehicle as compared to the IC engine. So that is definitely because we are in automotive industry, that is going to be our major market. And here we can bring in a lot of because the EV is not coming only as a simple product. So it will have a lot of intelligence, lot of connectivity, lot of reliability. So I will just like to add one more thing, here that now the Indian customers have now started looking at a functional safety product to be put on the vehicle because electric vehicle becomes very, very unsafe if your electronic design is not robust. So now again, the major challenge which has been thrown by the industry is that you have to be AutoSAR compliant, you have to be a functional safety product, you have to follow ISO 2020. Those type of things are coming now very, very aggressively, and only the company who has understood this can be there in the future. If you don't, if you're not having the capability of developing a functional safety product, then I think the EV segment will not be able to work with you because it's going to be a very, very a safety concern. If you're the motor controller and the when you stop the vehicle, and if you don't get the same retardation as you have contemplated in your software, then that can result into a major accident. So that throws a very big market for companies like Napino and also for companies like INSI, where they are into developing this new technology product. So having said that, IoT is the future, and IoT is like it is infinite possibility in IoT. So whatever you think you can do through IoT, and even for an electric vehicle, when we talk about the electric vehicle, it will be null and void if we don't have a IoT over there. Like for example, when we talk about a fleet management, when we talk about a battery management system, it has to be monitored online, and the driver or the rider should have a dashboard, or the company who is running a fleet should have a dashboard to see the entire how the ecosystem is working. So now IoT and EV will go hand in glove. So these two areas will grow, and as I told you earlier, and I think even Mr. Srinath also mentioned that the wearable is again going to be a very, very big market, and that's why we want to be in the IoT segment. And IoT is going to go. There's no second thought to it. From home automation to factory automation to tracking device, there I think a floodgate opened for the industry to take those opportunities. And now talking about the next question was how we can compete with China. I mean, so we are almost there now, I think. So it is only a matter of time. When the volume picks up, it's again a chicken and egg story. That since the volume is not there, the cost is high. For example, a PCB. Right now, we are importing PCB from China or from Taiwan. So the scalability is very large over there. So if we are able to get those type of things here in India, I don't see there is any reason that we should not be able to compete with them, because today we already have I mean, the manpower cost in India is already gone below China. So this is the time, next 5 to 10 years is going to be very critical for India, and we have to get into that inflection point and start getting into the high volume business. And one more thing I would like to add what Mr. Srinath has said, a very important point is on the mechanical part. That is a major drawback in India, because if you go to, I mean, if people have got idea about China, tool room and all is like a skill over there. I mean, if you go to a place where there is an injection molding, so you have the complete ecosystem. You'll have hundreds of, tool makers, hundreds of heat treaters, hundreds of grinders. So I think that type of cluster needs to be developed in India as well for the mechanical part, which I think today is a neglected part. So whatever PLI and all you see is in the electronic, but nobody is focusing on the mechanical part. But I think that is one of the most important, gap which I also see in our industry. And very soon,
Yeah.
maybe Mr. Srinath, you will see Napino coming with their own mechanical part design and manufacturing.
That is fantastic, sir. Look forward to it because we need Indians to step up, and that's one area which we have seriously lacked, which has actually stopped our growth. And I also want to add to another aspect with my experience as to how to compete with China. Yes, one is like Naveen sir mentioned, volume is one big thing. But sir, one more point which I want to say to all audience, because there's I think a lot of youngsters here, many people are here. I think also I think we need to build a collaborative culture in India if we have to beat the rest of the world. I have traveled far and wide in China, worked with a lot of vendors, especially in the mobile development business. What I've found is every evening, after factories across China, all the main component makers used to meet for dinner every evening at 5 o'clock. They will all come together, discuss all the financial outcomes, discuss all the technical issues they are facing. Each company will have a hinterland to the other company what their pain points are. So this way, they all become a small group to work together. That's what is lacking in India. I think we as Indians should start building a collaborative landscape and not a competitive landscape. We need a collaborative industrial environment where each company can feel this is my problem, you solve it, your problem, my problem. This actually, if you look at China, there's only 4 or 5 good design houses. Believe it or not, only 4 or 5 good design houses, and they rule the world. How? The reason is those 5 or 6 design houses, they only focus on design. They don't get into manufacturing. They don't get into product sales. So what they do, they create technology and push it into the manufacturing ecosystem. And the manufacturing ecosystem, they don't do anything with design. They take the design, they make sure they ramp up the volume so much, and then put it out in the retail hand. And then the retail guys drive it to the rest of the world. So this is the only reason why China has the stranglehold in electronics. And if we have to compete with them, we need to build that same model here.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very
Just to add
interesting
to
point.
that,
Yeah,
we have been like we also took it
yeah.
as a challenge. When we entered the EV segment in India, so you must be aware that the entire EV kit is being imported from China. But we really focus on one or two parts, and we were able to drive down the price very close to China and giving the reliability which is multi-fold than the current product. So it is not that it is not possible, but as Mr. Srinath says, we need to have very, very concentrated effort is required, and we can do that. I mean, if they can do, why we can't do it? I mean, why it's not possible?
Exactly.
And we have done it. I mean, on a very sample basis, we have done it, and we can do it across many platforms now.
Right.
Great. Thank you. I think so. My another question is to Ms. Sujata. You discussed a very critical point today about servitization. While we are talking about designing and manufacturing and also adoption of digital technology in industries, you discussed these two models, right? Product as a service and then outcome-based pricing. So, like from your experience, like what are one or two necessary elements to make this really servitization work here in India? Like, or do you, as you said, right? It is one of the least performing area right now. India is not up to that area, but outside that we learn
Right.
from in
Yeah.
servitization.
So let me tell you a few things about what is required, right? So firstly, the mindset change. I mean, we talk about mindset in everything, but I think that's the starting point. If you are in the right frame of mind and if you accept certain things, then how to make it possible is easier. So basically, both the manufacturers of equipment themselves have to look at a more value add which they can do by providing services. And they have to prove it to their customers not by charging exorbitantly for these additional services in the beginning, but by showing them what is possible. So, like in our IoT world, we do POCs, right? Most of the time, we do them free of charge. We don't even take money. So, similarly, manufacturers need to prove that this model is more beneficial to their customers than just selling the product. If you see the manufacturing industry, and if you talk about even industry 4.0 use cases, what is the most popular use case? Most popular use case today is how to reduce my downtime of the asset. That's the most popular use case in industry 4.0, and all of you would have seen that or heard that. Now why is that? Because the reliability of the assets is not very good. And how can the reliability of the asset be improved? If the company who has manufactured that asset is involved in ensuring the reliability of the asset, then that's where today a maintenance department of a company is managing maybe 50 different types of machines. And how many machines would they be expert in, right? So the OEMs have to step into this arena really, really fast. And in Western countries, this is happening already. If you look at any German machine which comes into India, anybody importing any German machine, it comes with this by default. It's not added service, it's not added this thing, it's a default. But Indian manufacturers are still not waking up to this for whatever reason. And mainly because when we discuss this with the manufacturers, when we go and try to pitch our solution, they say, yeah, your solution is good and we understand it is required and this and that, but my customers are not ready to pay for it. Okay, so this is not going to work. The customers are not going to pay upfront. They will pay only when they realize the advantages they are getting out of it. It is a evangelization of the customers, like all of us did evangelization about IoT. 5 6 years ago, it was not a product sale, it was concept sale, right? So similarly in manufacturing, this needs to happen in India. And if we have to compete with China, we really have to sell products and inbuilt services around.
Great, great. No, I think that is very valuable point. Yeah.
Very true.
Um, yeah, I think that's so important because, as you said, right, correctly. Like even when I entered in IoT a few years back, I think 8 years, it was and selling stories. Now we are getting to a stage where we are actually selling products and solutions and solving certain pain points. And servitization might be in the first stage right now. Maybe, hopefully, very soon, the larger industry will realize that here.
Yeah.
So I think with the
And
yeah,
just if I add
yeah,
something,
yeah.
IoT players are going to play a big role in this, because
Mhm.
unless they provide the hardware and the
Yeah,
solution or the software to make it easily possible, manufacturers are not going to be able to do this. So that's why it
correct.
is very relevant for the IoT players to know about this and to drive this.
Sure. No, no, I think that's valuable. In fact, given the time on hand today on the call, but I would like to discuss this with you more. I think this is a topic I don't understand very well, and I'm sure many of the people are still warming up to servitization manufacturing. But we will definitely like to discuss more case studies around that in the future. My next question is to Mr. Nate. Nate, I think you are aggressively working on multiple vertical, and airport automation is one of them. My I think question, and I think some of the people have also asked a relevant question, that what are the use case in airport automation where you see a lot of opportunities or an interesting area with scale. I think because India is also developing a lot of airport infrastructure as we speak. Government announced almost 120 airports coming up in India in the next 5 years, if I'm correct, in the tier 2, tier 3 towns. So if you can throw some light on that.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much, Vinay. Basically, to answer that question, I want to first draw all the audience attention to the components in automation. Okay, especially when it comes to IoT, we can divide automation into three areas. One is the devices, one is the network, and one is the platform along with its applications. Three distinct areas. So it so happens that especially in the airport, there's multiple types of automation being discussed. One where it is a pure play of just the platform automation to give them access to some unique services with all their distributed platforms. Currently, airport has a lot of distributed IT platforms. So one way is to bring all those into a common umbrella at the IT level to automate a lot of their operations and tasks. So that is one level of automation. But when it comes to Inexi and how Inexi is playing a role in all the automation of the airports, we are looking at developing technologies for automating. There is two sides of operations in the airport. One is the air side, and one is the passenger side. Okay, so air side, there's so many tasks which are routinely performed, all the way from identification of obstacles in the aircraft path, identification of people who are not supposed to be in the wrong locations, identification of aircraft itself, then identification of any animal intrusion in the runway. So there's so many use cases, guiding aircrafts in foggy conditions, so that once it lands, how does it taxi itself into the to the gate properly, and then of course how do we make sure that in extreme foggy conditions there's no collision of the aircraft with any objects, ladders, and any trolleys standing in the path. How do we do that in a systematic way? These are on the air side, on the flight side. On the other side, we are a lot of operations which are currently available. Simple points like people counting. People will think, oh, what is the big deal about that? But definitely airport wants to know any point in time how many people are there in the airport at any given time, at what areas they're in. And then they want to know, currently a lot of these systems are, especially with COVID temperature monitoring, it is extremely fragmented. They don't have a very proper centralized way of monitoring passengers at the time of entry all the way through the airport, where all they went, and then how they boarded the aircraft. So that could be another area. Then trolley management is a big area, baggage management. So IoT application in the airport on the passenger side is also huge. Even everything from vehicle management. You don't want too many Uber Olas coming piling up in front of the gates, or in front of the arrival departure section. How do they manage that efficiently? How do they know real time how many of these vehicles are in what location? And how long is the vehicle parked or located in a particular area where there should be alerted unattended vehicles? So you can just keep writing application after application, and there's so much opportunity in the airport. But again, this is an example of what we are doing in the airport. But now you can take the same process outside the airport by coming to railways, another same issue. You can take it to the bus transport and the bus transportation system. So I think the opportunities for IoT is just huge. And also when it comes to actual cabs and ride sharing and e-vehicles, again there's a huge set of things in the transport industry, all the way from driver behavior monitoring, making sure that drivers follow the obstacles, they follow norms we provide, and the safety of passengers.
Which you touched is around passenger and baggage movement, right? Through this thing, they were exploring some BLE tags that can be attached to every baggage, and you can really in real time know where the baggage is, like
Absolutely.
for baggage recalling or baggage returns and stuff like that.
Right.
Singapore have implemented it. I saw it on that airport once. There was a small tag that they put along with the baggage tag, and which allows an app that you can use to monitor where your bag is.
Right.
So
And
that
one more
is
thing,
this thing.
just talking about
So
collaboration, that's an opportunity. If you have ready-made solution, please talk to me. We'll see how we can approach airport together.
great, excellent. So
Yeah.
I think with that, we are almost end of the time today, and I think I've covered the questions also from the audience in my questions inbuilt into it. So with that, I would first of all thank each of the esteemed speakers on the video here, and also invite Ashish on the stage to share the thank you note with the audience and the participant. Please feel free to keep asking your questions, because we also get these questions even after the session ends, and we can always throw these questions over email to our speakers later on. And also, if you have any suggestions, there is a feedback that will be shared with you. So Ashish will give more details on that. So with that, once again, thank you for your time today, and afternoon and a good day ahead, and everyone. Thank you. Ashish, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Vinay. And hello, everyone. But before that, I would like to thank Mr. Naveen Kumar, CEO of Napino, who have covered very beautifully some of the aspects like importance of first-time OK products in manufacturing, and how in India we are building an option for companies to get the products designed and manufactured within India, which is of very much an international quality and very much comparable and even better than the product that you get across the borders, right? Then Mrs. Sujata Tilak for beautifully covering the concept of servitization in manufacturing and some of the opportunities that are available in Industry 4.0 applications. And Mr. Nate Srinath, I really liked the way you covered the product design step. Very insightful for a lot of us and a lot of aspiring students and interested candidates who want to work in the space of manufacturing. So that was very insightful. I would also like to thank our partners, NASSCOM, IoT-NCR and LIF, who are our community partners, and Vinay Solanki for being such a wonderful moderator as always, and most importantly, participant for taking out on this weekend and listening to this engaging session and also coming up with very interesting questions. So few updates apart from this from my side is what I had mentioned in our last event is we have come up with a white paper called Manufacturing as a Service in India. You can access that by going to our website, napinotech.com, go to the Insight section, and you can access that white paper. Very interesting and very insightful, covering aspects that are necessary for carrying out manufacturing in India. And we will be coming up with a lot of such series of white paper. The next one in line is digital transformation. So that will cover many use cases and how we can implement that in the context of IoT. So that is coming up next week. The next update that I have is for the winners of our last event. So please make a note of this. This is Mr. Manish Thakur. Mr. Manish Thakur, I repeat, Mr. Mohammad Imtiaz, and Mr. Aman Jain. So these are the three winners of our last event quiz. You look forward for your inbox, and you will get an update from our side on your goodies. Uh, Other important point that I want to bring about is we are participating in our next event called Convergence India 2021. That is going to be held at Pragati Maidan in Delhi on 24th of March till 26th of March. So we will have a lot of our products and solution displayed. So I would invite you all to visit the event and do visit our booth to get more insights on our offerings. Our last point now is you'll find a button on your screen called feedback. So once you click on that, I would request to give feedback on some of the three questions that we have asked you. So that will help us moderate and have our event organized and be on most importantly. Thank you. Bye-bye.